Hey everybody. 2017 was a great year for movies. There was some good ones, some great ones, and some not so great ones. But there were some that were good enough to be on this list. This is my favorite films of 2017, and I hope you all enjoy. Now, you might be wondering, why am I doing this in March? Well, the answer to that is if the Oscars can do their awards show in March, then so can I. Now, I didn't see every film that came out in 2017, but I did see around 70, so I had a lot to pick from this list, and I do believe that I have come up with the best list I could possibly make. So sit back and I hope you enjoy my top 10 favorite films of 2017, starting with number 10. If you would have told me that Bbear was going to be one of my favorite films of the year, I would have thought you were crazy. Because actually, I knew nothing about this movie going in. But after seeing it, it was one of the most endearing and beautiful films I had seen all year. It was engaging, funny, strange, and very heartwarming. And I just love the character's journey through this story as he just tries his best to do what he wants to do and how he gets there. And it's just great because it's a story you can really gravitate towards. We all want to get this dream. We all have this dream that we want to get to, but it's always hard to get there. And that's what's so great about this film is seeing this boy transition into something better. We see him grow as a character, and it you can honestly put yourself in his shoes. And I think that's what's really great about this and why it's in a way so relatable, even though it can be very strange and maybe not for everybody, but it is one of the most endearing films I've seen all year. The Shape of Water was my first Guillermo del Toro film ever, and now I can understand why people love him so much. This movie was just a joy to watch. It was visually interesting, it was beautiful in its execution, its music, its directing, the acting. Michael Shannon is just so over the top, and but it works in this movie. Sometimes being over the top doesn't work, but in this world that Guillermo del Toro has created, it is just it's a delight to watch. And at the heart of it, Sally Hawkins gives a beautiful and fantastic performance as she spends most of the movie mute. In fact, all the movie mute. And it's her story that's the heart of this film as she has this love story with this creature. Their story is just so fantastic and beautiful to watch, and it's very, very whimsical. I just loved this movie for everything it did. And honestly, after this, I hope to see more Guillermo del Toro films in the future. He's a great director, and this was a great movie. Detroit was directed by Catherine Bigelow and came out earlier this year, but sadly got forgotten about amongst other bigger releases. I don't understand because this is a really great film that has a lot of things that relate to today, such as the media and police work and race, most importantly, race. The story is about the Algiers Motel in 1970s Detroit and what happened there, and it's just very dark and very disturbing to watch. I do recommend this film, but I just want to say that it is very dark and very disturbing. And Will Poulter, at the center of the film, gives one of my favorite performances of the year, and he's the villain. He gives one of the most villainous performances, and it's very human, honestly. It's just great to watch him just be evil, and it's honestly very scary. This film was very excellent with a very kind of documentary style that made it feel real. And that's what I loved so much about it. Otherwise, the performances were great. The directing from Catherine Bigelow was great. And altogether, this was just a really great film. So, what do you follow up Detroit, one of the bleakest films of the year, with? A romantic comedy, of course. The Big Sick was one of the best written films of this year, with a really great performance by Kumail Nanjiani, who tells his own story about how he met his girlfriend, who became his wife, and it's just really heartwarming and fun to watch. It's very funny, but also very dramatic, and has a lot to say about relationships and accepting yourself, accepting who you are. And that's very gravitating because a lot of people can relate to that. And all that makes this film very personal. This is a very personal film, not just because Kumail made it about himself. It's just there's just something about it, and it's very infectious with some really just fun performances, and they're you just love these characters and you want to see them turn out all right in the end. The killing of a sacred deer is a Greek tragedy in the best way possible. This is a very interesting, dark film that honestly I found a lot of enjoyment in, and I don't think a lot of people will honestly like this film. It's not a film for everyone. It's very off putting, it can be kind of slow, but something about how slow it was just drew me in more and more. And it just has something about it that's infectious that you just want to see it to the end to see how this ends, because this is a very, very bizarre film. It's very dark, very bleak, and honestly kind of funny, but not in the funny you would think like The Big Sick. It's honestly very underlying funny, like they're talking about serious stuff, but the comedy comes underneath it. I don't know if people would like that, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just a sick person because I found it kind of funny, but also very dark at the same time. In this film, Colin Farrell gives probably the best performance that he's done all year. He's had 3 movies, and this is probably his best one. But at the center of the film is Barry Cogan, who gives just a fantastic performance. He steals the show as this boy that torments this family. And I really don't want to say anything here because I think you should watch the film for yourself, or if you're just not interested, just read the plot synopsis. It's crazy what happens in this film. It's just very great with some very great performances and great directing by Yorgos Lanthimos. He's just really great as a director. He's very interesting, and he uses some very Kubrickian techniques when it comes to camera work, where the camera is just kind of set back and you see everything in the film. It's just very beautiful. One of the best looking films of the year, honestly. And one of the bleakest, if not the bleakest film of the year. And honestly, I really enjoyed it a lot, and that's why it's my number 6. The Lost City of Z was a film that I saw very early in 2017, and honestly, I'm glad it made this list because this is a very beautiful, epic film that is reminiscent of the New Hollywood era from the 1970s with films like The Godfather and um, The Deer Hunter and Heaven's Gate. It's just very unique in its style, and you don't see films like this much anymore on this grand scale. James Gray has created a masterpiece, I think. Just everything about it is oozing passion, from the directing to the cinematography to the acting. It's just all great and encompasses so much that I love about films that honestly, it's crazy that this isn't even my number one. It's a very great film with beautiful cinematography, beautiful music, and Charlie Hunnam gives his best performance ever. This is the performance of his career, and I'm just glad I was able to see it in the theaters. And I hope you watch this too because it's a very good film, and you don't see films like this much anymore. Lost City of Z and All the Money in the World have a lot in common. They are both films filled with ambition from their directors. Ridley Scott has created what might be one of my favorite films he has ever made, and definitely one of the best films he's made in the last 10 years. It tells the story of J. Paul Getty and how his grandson was kidnapped and what they did to try to get him home. This is a very also bleak film, but it's bleak in a very different way. It shows J. Paul Getty's life in this very dark gray color. The film is very gray, and it's reminiscent of what his life has become as he's become rich and everything, but what does he honestly have? This is a great film with a fantastic performance by Christopher Plummer, who took over after Kevin Spacey had to leave for reasons you already know. And it's just great to see this type of ambition. It's clear that Ridley Scott was interested in telling this story and loved this story enough that he was just ready to recast it as soon as possible. In fact, this movie, after Kevin Spacey was taken out of the project, Ridley Scott got Christopher Plummer, and in 9 days, he reshot all the scenes he needed with Christopher Plummer, which I'll tell you is a lot. Christopher Plummer is in a lot of this movie, and it's just crazy to see just how well this movie was, even with all those reshoots, because I honestly don't see many flaws in this film. There's nothing, it's just flawless, I think. And it's just really great to see a filmmaker that can go the extra mile to do something and produce something so great with such little time on their hands. And that's why All the Money in the World is this high on the list. It's a very great film. Not only does Three Billboards win for Best Original Title in 2017, but it is also one of the best films of the year. This is a very good film with some very good performances and is very well written. Frances McDormand gives perhaps her best performance to film, as well as Sam Rockwell giving his best performance ever. These two are very good together and work very well off each other. The film itself is just a slew of things. It's almost like life. It's funny, it's sad, it's heartwarming, it's horrifying, it's dramatic, but all of it just matches so well together to tell this story about this mother who's just trying to get things right in this town. And it's just fantastic to watch with everything said. It's just got a great ensemble, and the directing is very good. But also, the music. The music is one of the most underrated pieces, I think, of this year. It's very good, and I just love this film so much that I don't know. It's strange to say that it's only number three because I just think it's really that good. It is up for Best Picture for the Oscars, so I'm hoping it wins there. But yeah, I say go see this movie. It's really great and just really fun, really funny, but also it's a dark comedy, so it gets to that point where I'm like, should I be laughing? Should I really be laughing, or would that be wrong? I don't know. I like films like that, and this is a really good film. Every year, A24 makes a couple of movies, and every year I see them. And A Ghost Story is by far the best one that they've come out with in 2017. This is perhaps one of the saddest films I've seen all year, and perhaps one of the saddest films I've seen in my entire life. David Lowery has created nothing short of a masterpiece of filmmaking. He has created a film that's just beautiful to watch and also very haunting. It asks so many questions about death, love, and time that it's a really good film to meditate on. And I think that's where the true purpose of this film is. It's great at just being something to meditate on. A Ghost Story is not your conventional film. It's something very different. It's a little slow. It's not for everybody, but what it does have to say is fantastic and just really great work here. The cinematography is very unique with a 4:3 ratio, and that's something you don't see. You would think it'd be kind of silly to have something like that in a film. It makes it look artsy. But honestly, it makes the film more personal because the characters are closer in the frame and it just works. It just works. Um, this film was a beautiful experience to watch, and honestly, it's one of the best films of the year. And I don't think it gets enough credit for what it does because it is great and haunting and very sad. That said, I won't say any spoilers, but the ending of the film is one of the most gut wrenching endings to anything I've ever seen. And it's very, very beautiful to watch. And if you want to, I really recommend seeing this, but I'm not going to rush anyone. It's not for everybody, but I think it is something that deserves to be seen by a few people. I really love this film, and it could have easily been my number one, but there's one film that still is better than any of these. 2049 is one of those rare sequels that comes along that is honestly better than the original in every way. This is a very interesting, introspective movie that's very epic and grand scale. Denis Villeneuve has created nothing short of a masterpiece. So much of a masterpiece, I don't even consider the first one a masterpiece like everyone else does. This film is his masterpiece of filmmaking. It's beautiful to look at with interesting cinematography by Roger Deakins and great sound design, great music by Hans Zimmer, and great acting. Ryan Gosling plays the main character who has perhaps the best character arc of 2017. He has a very good journey that he goes through in the film. Also, Harrison Ford is back and he's better than ever. This is his best performance I've seen from him in many years. He's very good in this film, and this film is just really good. It's epic. It feels like an epic. It's honestly made with such real passion and craft that I love in films. In fact, all these films that are on this list were made with passion, and this is no exception. 2049 is a masterpiece with all the makings of a true classic, and I hope it is remembered in many, many years to come because this is a very good film. And I hope all of you go and see it because it's worth seeing. You don't have to see the first one to really enjoy this film. It enhances it, but it's not completely recommended. I honestly love this film. Even with a 3-hour runtime, this film flies by. Now, that might not be the case with some who might find it a little boring, but I don't know. I just find 3-hour movies so engaging, and this was one of them. I really enjoyed it and loved this film a lot. And that's my top 10 favorite films of 2017. I hope you all enjoyed. This was a very, very hard list to make because it was really hard to narrow it down to 10. I could have easily told at least 15, but I had to narrow it down to 10. And sadly, there's a bunch of movies that I had to leave off that I really enjoyed. 2017 was just such a good year for films in general that I hope the same can be said for 2018. I want 2018 to be really good, and let's hope it is. Well, that's all I have to say. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope that any of the films that I said piqued your interest. I hope you look at them if you haven't seen them, and watch them. They're all really, really good. Some of them are different from others, and some of them you may not be interested in, but maybe you can find something that interests you. Anyway, guys, that said, be sure to comment down below and like and subscribe to the channel, and honestly pass this video around if you want to. I'd like for people to see this video if they can, or see any of my reviews. That'd be awesome. Anyway guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next review.